Hey, you guys, I am back. Now, I can see that we have no answers on the vocabulary activity. I can't believe you guys. This is so obnoxious of you. I don't know if you need the time because you were having breakfast, or if you simply don't want to do this activity. You have to help me out now. Do you want me to give you now 3 minutes to find the definitions for the words, or you want to continue with something else? Let's do this. Are you going to type in the answers now? Yes or no? Let me know. Let Renata know and she will tell me. Are you going to look up for the words now? Yes or no? No answers. I'm anxious. Look, I got goosebumps. Let me know. Vinicius, thank you for answering, man. You're doing a great job. Oh, awesome. Can you type in, do you have the QR code for the Padlet? Or do you need it again? Do you need the QR code? Because I can go back to the QR code. Yes or no? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to put in here, guys, the QR code again, okay? Just wait a minute, because I'm going to go around the room, okay? Just a second. Guys, Felipe, solta o microfone. Okay, you guys, I have the QR code back on in case you need it. And I could see that there is already one answer. Woohoo! So type in the others, and then we're going to learn new vocabulary, because I'm learning new vocabulary as well. Okay. So I'm giving you a couple minutes just to do so, okay? Just to type in your answers, and then we're going to check. Okay? Acho que tu pode até deixar o QR Code um pouquinho. E Felipe, tu pode deixar só a tela deles? Vou dar 2 minutinhos. Come on, you guys. I see the messages popping in. I'm getting excited. Let's see. I'll just give you 1 extra minute, and then we're going to check it, okay? Guys, I'm going to remove the QR code by now, okay? So that we can start reading the answers. But if you're still typing in, go on typing in. I'm just going to remove the QR code, okay? Tu pode só fechar o código, Felipe? Ok. No código, só a tela do código. Okay. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. Okay. Perfect. You guys, so many answers. I'm so happy. I get so excited when I have your answers. I have reliable, a person you can trust, a person you can count in, dutiful, obedient. Was it listed as a bad trait? I think so, right? Was it a bad trait? Valiant, brave, fantastic, humble, that's it. What's it I'm saying? Unright? Ironic. Okay, so many answers. Persistent, persistent, valiant, brave, reliable, I've read. Finicky, mimado. Another word for finicky in English is pampered, right? And I even think pampered is more common to hear, but it's the same thing. Or spoiled. He's such a spoiled child is the same thing as finicky. Picky, demanding, yes. Picky in Portuguese is what we generally call chato, right? When you want to say in English that someone is chato, because you know that boring is in a sense of not fun, a person that makes you lose all your excitement. That's boring. But when the person is, you're trying to do something and they want it their way and they want to change it and they're never happy about something, they're not happy because it's too sunny, or you say this person is picky because they want things their way. It's like they pick the decisions, so they're picky. Okay. Slovenly, I had no idea what slovenly was. Thank you very much for teaching me that one. Slovenly, it's a good word to know. Quarrelsome, that's what I was asking you. Quarrel is a fight. To quarrel means to fight. Quarrelsome is a person who likes fighting, who picks arguments. That's it. Confident. Confident, yes. A person that believes in themselves and knows what they're doing, right? I'm very confident. Obnoxious, very annoying, extremely unpleasant, offensive. I have to tell you, I used to hear this word so much. People used to say, whenever a situation happens and people are not happy about it, they say, oh, this is so obnoxious. So it is a common word. Keen, interested. It's a person who's excited, who's up for the situations, right? He's keen to learn. He's excited to learn. Perfect. Reliable, a person you can trust. I think we've seen that one. Stingy, that's it. A person who loves their money. Not because they like to spend, but because they like to have it. They keep it. You say someone is stingy. I say, guys, let's have lunch at Outback. And then you say, no, it's too expensive. And then you say, oh, you're so stingy. There is an episode on Friends when they use this word, that someone is stingy. What else? I think I've read them all. Stingy, reliable, valiant, capable, slovenly, finicky, dutiful. I'm just not sure if dutiful was listed as a good trait or a bad trait. Because honestly, I don't know where to place dutiful. We don't want people to be obedient in a sense of being subservient. They don't get the chance to analyze the situation. They simply do because they are told. That's not something that we expect from people nowadays, right? When my mother was a child, kids were supposed to be obedient, simply. Nowadays, we want them to be opinionated, to make certain decisions. Of course, we expect them to follow the rules, that's true. But maybe obedience is too heavy, right? On the other hand, to say that this is a bad trait is also too heavy a decision, right? Because if you consider someone who plays by the rules, in a way, someone who plays by the rules is obedient. You know what I'm saying? So I confess to you that depending on the scenario, it might be something good or something bad. If I'm trying to say that, no, this person does what is expected of them and they play by the rules, then obedient might be good. But if I am trying to say, oh, come on, I want your opinion, and you never tell me what you think about stuff, you simply follow the instructions, then it can be a bad thing. I don't know if you guys are following, right? But anyway, gregarious, I was hoping for that one. I need to learn that. What is gregarious? A person who likes to be among other people. They're friendly, they're sociable. You see, I didn't know that. Perfect. So the person is outgoing. The person is gregarious. That's a word we are going to be using, right? To keep in mind. Okay. And they were side by side, right? Gregarious and valiant. Guys, great job. In a perfect world, all of you would have entered different words. Maybe just some typed in lots of words. But anyway, it's so beautiful to see a screen like this with your participation. Thank you so much. Fantastic, guys. Awesome. So today, our homework is going to be to use these words during the week in order to change our vocabulary, to expand our vocabulary. So you're going to spend the weekend defining the people in your house, but you're going to say to them, Mom, you're so picky, you're so keen to help us, whatever. You just have to make sure you remember to practice these words so that we can expand our vocabulary. Don't be finicky. Do what we're saying. Perfect. Okay, so let's move on. Now we're going to get to the grammar part of the class, okay? Felipe, pode tirar isso aí, a gente não vai mais usar. Thank you very much. Vamos agora voltar para o PowerPoint. Sometimes when I'm planning your lessons, I feel like, we don't have enough to do for the 2 classes. But then, because you guys participate, there is never enough time. If we had more time, we could do more things, right? It's not like we run out of things to do. That's good. That's good. I'm saying this is a good thing. Felipe, volta só segundinho, que eu só quero falar uma coisa sobre a tela anterior. All of this we were doing, the personality things we were reading, are in order to help us read and understand these texts about personalities and the types of music. But because we're running out of time for today, we're going to save this text for next class, and then we can wrap it up, okay? On that website, on that page that we were reading, that you can access through the QR code from the previous page, they have an activity for you to check on your personality. So they're going to give you sentences. We've done something like that before. I don't know if you remember. When we were talking about professions, we took a quiz, and we all should be artists, remember? It's the same kind of test, but they're going to place your personality on one of 16 possibilities of personality. I decided not to do it because it takes too long. But it has perfect vocabulary and sentences that describes behavior. So if you want to do it, okay? It's down on that page we were reading the personality traits, okay? So next class, we're going to save some minutes to read this text that matches your personality to the type of music you prefer. As for now, we're going to move on, okay? Felipe, o próximo slide. So today we're going to study relative pronouns and relative clauses. Now, whenever it gets too grammatical, I have the feeling you guys can get bored, okay? But please pay attention, it's rather simple, and I'm sure you guys know how to do it without considering. But now we're going to learn the rules behind the use of relative pronouns, okay? Relative pronouns, they are used to connect sentences in a way that you avoid repetition of words. So when you have a relative pronoun, it is there to replace a subject or an object that is common to two sentences. So to give a very easy example, I can say, he is the person and he loves me. So I want to put these two combined. And I say, he is the person who loves me. So I am avoiding the repetition of he, right? I know the example was lame, right? Let me come up with something more interesting. You guys, after me, you have biology, right? The name of your biology teacher is Gurgel, if I'm not mistaken. Renatinha, o professor de biologia é Gurgel, não é o nome dele? Okay. So, I'm going to talk to you about Gurgel. So I say, Gurgel is a teacher at Antares, and Gurgel teaches biology. See that I would have a repetition of the word of his name, right? I could use a pronoun. Gurgel is a teacher at Antares, he teaches biology. Still, I am repeating he. So I can combine these two sentences by using a relative pronoun. So the relative pronoun substitutes the word, substitutes the noun, okay? And it connects two sentences and avoids the repetition. Why avoids the repetition? Because I can only replace a noun by a relative pronoun if it has been previously mentioned. So because it was previously mentioned and I don't want to repeat the same word again, I can use a relative pronoun in substitution. Okay? Following here? All of this we're going to study about relative pronouns is very similar to Portuguese. So, we have relative pronouns. What relative pronouns do we have? We have which, that, who, whom, whose, when, and where. They're all examples of relative pronouns. And we are going to break it down to analyze each one. When can you use one? When can you use the other? It's all there in your book. We're going to get down to reading it. But before we read what's there, I just want to share with you some considerations, okay? Some relative pronouns, they refer specifically to people. Who, whom, they will refer specifically to people. And what's the difference between who and whom? Remember that they are going to take part in a sentence as an object or a subject for the sentence. So whenever you have who or whom, they are substituting a noun. And this noun is going to be either the object or the subject of the next sentence. For example, remember the sentence about Gurgel? Gurgel is a teacher at Antares who teaches biology. So pay attention. Who here becomes the subject of the verb teaches. Who teaches biology. So here I have a relative pronoun that works as the subject. So I have to use who. Okay? In a different example, I might have a relative pronoun substituting an object. So I can say, Gurgel is a teacher at Antares whom I love. So, I love him. Now, whom is substituting the object of the sentence, not the subject. The subject is I. I love him. So, whom I love, the relative pronoun there is substituting the object. Can you see the difference? So, who and whom, they are used for people. But who replaces a subject. Who becomes the subject of the sentence. And whom substitutes an object. That's the difference. Now you are going to say, but teacher, I never hear people say whom. I had never heard people say whom. I study whom at school, but I don't hear it. Or very rarely I see people use whom. That's true. In informal English speaking, people rarely use whom. They use who in both situations. And as I am saying, in everyday language, especially oral communication, it is common to use who instead of whom, and it works. And it is common, okay? But it isn't grammatically correct. So whenever you are talking to a scholar, to a person who is really into the language and into studying, or a very formal person, if you say who, they are going to correct you. And they're going to say whom. Actually, what I am telling you, and I promise I'm going to look for this scene up to show you, in an episode of Friends, Ross, and the character of Ross, he is a scholar, right? He is a scientist, a person who is keen to study. So he pays attention to the language people use. Actually, it's one of his bad traits, right? Because he keeps on correcting his friends. So there is a conversation where someone says, he is the person who I lent my car to. I don't know the sentence here, but in any scenario. He is the person who I lent my car to, and then he says, whom? He makes the correction. And then his friends are like, oh, come on, stop that. So like I'm saying, for formal language, you should use whom whenever the relative pronouns refers to the object of the sentence, and who when it refers to the subject. Okay? I hope you can tell the difference. In everyday language, you can use who at all times. So, that's the first one we have. Who representing quem. Then it says, it refers to people, subject of the sentence. That they, and I can't see because there is a square on top of it. They. Felipe, tu pode só tirar esse xizinho que está em cima do quadrinho para eu ler a frase. Tu está vendo na tela que tem um xizinho? Aí, embaixo. Só eu que estou vendo? Desce mais um pouquinho. É, né? Renatinho, esse aqui? Ok. Thank you. Sorry, it was my action that had to be taken. But anyway, they, boy, I think it's supposed to be the boy, right? I had the feeling the word was boy, but they, it's supposed to be the boy. The boy who was talking to you is my friend. The boy is my friend. The boy was talking to you. So who, because who was talking, who is the subject. There is a person outside who wants to see you. The person wants to see you. Who is the subject? I'm going to go straight to whom because we have talked about it already, okay? So I'm going to skip straight to whom. And then it says, whom would be similar as a quem. It refers to people, but it has to be the object of the sentence. It's the object of the verb, okay? Despite the idea that it is direct or indirect, whatever object, because it is the object of the sentence, either direct or indirect, you should use whom. So the sentence goes, The boy whom you were talking to is my friend. So see the difference? The one with who said the boy who was talking to you. So he is the subject. He is talking to you. Now here we have the opposite. The boy whom you were talking to. You were talking to the boy. So here you have the object, whom. The boy whom you were talking to is my friend. And the girl to whom you gave that gift is my cousin. The girl to whom you gave that gift is my cousin. Okay? Okay. Next we have which. Which is the one you are going to use when you are talking about things, objects, or animals. Okay? So, and here in which you are going to use it either if it is the object or the subject. It doesn't matter. If you are talking about animals, people, you are going to use either which as the object or which as the subject. Okay? So, the book which is on the floor is yours. You're making your house messy. You left the book on the floor, right? And then your mom says, pick up this book. The book which is on the floor is yours. Okay? So here, which is on the floor, the book is on the floor. Which is replacing a subject. And the second sentence, the cat which is in the surgery. In the surgery? Yes, is ours. The cat which is in the surgery is ours. I would say the cat which is in surgery, to say that the person is in the process of having a surgery. I wouldn't say in the surgery. The cat which is in surgery is ours. I would use the if I had room. The cat which is in the surgery room is ours. The place would be the, but to say that the cat is undergoing a surgery, I would say in surgery. Okay? Anyway, here which refers to the object, right? No, it's subject again. The cat which is in surgery. The cat is in surgery. So both examples are subjects. But still, which works for subjects or objects. Only who and whom are going to have that difference. Next, you have where. Where is the relative pronoun you are going to use based on the idea. If the noun you are replacing refers to a location, to a place, you are going to use where, okay? So here it's because of the meaning. The idea is that of substituting, replacing a word that represents a place. So the examples. The apartment where I live is great. The museum where she works is amazing. Next, we have when. When is the one you're going to use if the word you are replacing refers to a time, to a moment in time. So, that was the city. That was the city, is that correct? That was the day. Sorry guys. Now it makes sense, right? That was the day when we met. Because day is time, you can use when. December is the month when I start my vacation. Okay? So when is easy. Now let's go to whose. Whose you use when you want to represent possession. The relationship between the two sentences is not based simply on having the same subject or the subject in one is the object in the other. The idea here is that the words you are relating, they refer to each other in a sense of possession. For example, the boy lives in my house. The boy's father was my friend. So pay attention that, yes, I am going to avoid the repetition of the word the boy. The boy who lives in my, The boy lives in my house, and the boy's father was my friend. So I have the boy, the boy. I want to avoid repeating the boy. But the person I'm going to talk about in the second sentence is not really the boy. I'm going to talk about the boy's father. The boy's father. So you see the sense of possession? The relationship there would have a genitive case, the apostrophe S, because there is a sense of possession. So I would say, the boy whose father was my friend lives in my house. Because I am talking about the boy's father. So, whose father? Okay? You can see that I am not talking about the same person, but I am talking about a person that relates because of the sense of possession. Let's talk about something. I am selling my car. My car was bought in 2015. Okay, so I'm selling my car. And I bought my car in 2015. Can I do that? No, because I'd be substituting the car. I'm not substituting the possession, right? Let me think. Okay, that is my car. And I am selling my car. I'm going to use the example here because I'm not connecting my ideas. Let's use the example from the book, okay? Sorry. Anyway, let's see here. Batman is the superhero whose powers are less interesting. Actually, Batman doesn't really have superpowers, right? He has a super belt, I think. No, I know that one. Anyway, so Batman is the superhero whose powers. So I am avoiding repeating Batman, right? Batman is a superhero. Batman's powers are less interesting. So powers are possessed by Batman. That's why I use whose, okay? The second one. These are the jeans whose pockets are torn. So you have the jeans and the pockets are on the jeans. So the relationship is a possession relation. So I am avoiding to repeat jeans in the possessive case. So I would say, these are the jeans and the jeans pockets are torn. So to avoid repeating the jeans, but the jeans apostrophe S, not a apostrophe, as a possession, I use whose. Okay? I am still thinking about the car. Guys, I wanted to wrap up my car example. It would be, this is, no. I'm going to use Renata, okay? The car now is Renata. So, Renata is the owner of the car. No, whatever, forget about it. I'm not able to pull that off. Forget it. Anyway, whom we've seen, we've covered, and finally we have that. Now that is your wild card. You know that when you call it wild card, it means you can pretty much put it anywhere. It replaces almost all words. So you can use that instead of who, you can use that instead of which, you can use that instead of, not instead of whose, because it wouldn't have that idea of possession, okay? Whose is on its own there. But that is a wild card. So it refers to people, animals, and things. It can substitute which or who or where or when, okay? Even though most commonly it will replace which and who, okay? And also whom. But anyway, the woman that lives here is my mother. We could say the woman who lives here is my mother. That man is the one that helped me. That man is the one who helped me. The book that I bought last week was a really good one. Was the book that I bought last week is really good. And the giraffe that has the longest neck is adorable. Okay? So that is a wild card. When you are in doubt in real life, not in tests, but when in doubt, you can use that instead of worrying, is it which or is it who? Okay? Okay, can we move on? Philip, to the next slide. Now, what are relative clauses? Relative clauses are sentences that begin with relative pronouns. Okay? So when you have a sentence that has a relative pronoun as part of it, you're going to have a relative clause. There are two types of relative clauses, defining and non-defining relative clauses. Now, if you're good in Portuguese and you have studied this in Portuguese, it won't be difficult in English. Remember those orações adjetivas, restritivas e explicativas? This is it. Okay? You have the defining, which are the restrictive ones. They are necessary to the sentence. They are necessary in order for you to identify the person or the thing I am talking to. Without that, you would be confused. The man who lives here is my father. Without the information who lives here, who is the man? Okay? It will be the man is my father. But what man is my father? Who lives here? That part of the sentence is necessary for you to identify the man I am talking about. The non-defining relative clauses are the ones that come between commas, and they give you additional information. So, for example, Fortaleza, which is the capital of Ceará, is a beautiful city. So this, which is the capital of Ceará, I'm giving you as additional information. Fortaleza is what it is. You don't need that to identify what I'm talking about. But I am giving you extra information. So it comes between commas, and in English it would be called the non-defining relative clause. Okay? That's what I'm saying. If this is clear to you in Portuguese, when you study Portuguese, it's going to be easy in English. Otherwise, it's going to give us extra time. It's going to demand from us an extra time and attention, but it's okay. So anyway, defining relative clauses in English define or identify a person or thing that is being referred to. They are not anticipated, and they do not come between commas. For example, the man who came in the room is the boss. So the man, what man? The man who came in the room is the boss. So this is an example of a defining relative clause. Okay? You need that part of the sentence in order to know the man I am talking about. The relative pronouns that you're going to use are who, whom, that, and which. When you are referring to a subject in a defining relative clause, the man who or that came in the room is the boss. I sit at the desk that or which faces the window. Okay? So you can use who or that, because they are replaceable for each other, right? The same thing with which and that. Now, when you have a defining clause and you have the relative clause there, the relative clause cannot be omitted. It has to be there. The man who came in the room or the man that came in the room. I cannot say the man came in the room is the boss. No, I need the relative clause to be there. It needs to be part of the sentence. The relative pronoun needs to be part of the sentence. Now, when we have the relative pronoun working as an object, it can be omitted. You don't need to have it in the sentence. You put it because you want to, but if you don't want to, you don't have to put it. You can have nothing in that scenario. So, for example, she is the girl who I met last month. She's the girl that I met last month. She's the girl whom I met last month. She is the girl I met last month. See there? Because it is the object of the sentence, the relative pronoun is not needed in a defining clause. You might use it or not. Okay? Another example. Okay. So here, first things first. Here they are pointing out what we had discussed. Remember, you can use who instead of whom when you have the idea of person. Even though it is the object, you can use who instead of whom. You cannot use who instead of whom when you have a preposition. When it is an indirect object and you have the preposition present, you should be obligated to use whom. Again, in everyday language, you are going to hear both. That's why Ross corrects his friend. But as a rule, when you have the preposition, you must use whom instead of who. There you go. Yesterday, I saw a woman with whom I used to work. It is right after the preposition. It connects to the preposition. So you must use whom, because the preposition demands it. Okay? So yesterday I saw a woman with whom I used to work. Okay? And also, because you have the preposition, you should not omit the relative pronoun. The relative pronoun would need to be there. If it's not with a preposition, remember the previous case. It is defining and it talks about the object. You can use the relative pronoun or not. It doesn't matter, okay? The man who lives here is my father. It's subject. Who lives here? I need who. But the man, you see, I'm running out of examples, guys. Come on, I need to come up with something. The man who I like or whom I like lives here. The man I like lives here. Because it is the object, I don't really need the relative pronoun. I came up with the example. Okay. Next slide, please. We're running out of time. Whatever we have next is what I have explained before when we were in the first slide. And you guys can read it, okay? They are going to say that. You're going to use that or which when it is a thing or animal, right? But the same way, if it is the object of the sentence, you can omit it. If it is the subject, you cannot omit the relative pronoun. But the same thing happens when you have a preposition. You have to use which. This is the shelf on which I put my books. And then it is necessary to have which there. You cannot omit it because of the preposition. It demands it. Okay? We talked about whose as a possessive when the idea is of possession. He helped a woman whose car had broken down. So the woman's car had broken down. You use whose. Okay? And then you have the non-defining relative clauses, which are the ones that come between comma. Promise, next class, we're going to start talking about the non-defining relative clauses because we ran out of time. Okay? Your homework is going to be the activities that follow, the exercises to use the relative pronouns. Okay? And relative clauses. Guys, I'm sorry, we ran out of time and I didn't get to finish, but I promise next class we wrap it up. Okay? Do your homework. We're going to finish talking about non-defining relative clauses and then we're going to exercise. If you have questions, don't be ashamed to ask. Next class we can discuss all the questions you have on relative pronouns and relative clauses, okay? Thank you very much. It's always very nice to be with you guys. Have a perfect weekend. Study English. And I'll see you again next class, okay? Bye-bye.